So this is big news. So after I reported on last week's episode that Kyrie Irving was officially traded to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and the 2018 Brooklyn pick, apparently the deal isn't really set in stone, because earlier this week when Isaiah Thomas arrived in Cleveland to take his physical, Cleveland kind of realized that, oh shit, this guy's hip injury is a lot worse than what we first anticipated it to be. So now Cleveland's like, well, what can we do? We're gonna be stuck with Isaiah, either A, missing some time, or B, we don't have to trade for him, or C, we could keep Isaiah and we can keep the deal, but we want more out of Boston. So that's what Cleveland's basically saying here. Cleveland's basically saying, well, look, you're giving us an injured player. We understand that. Now, we want to trade Kyrie to you. We want to give you guys Kyrie. Now, the only way we're going to allow this deal to happen is if we want some more compensation to complete this trade. We don't want to keep Isaiah Thomas and not get any compensation. If we don't get any extra compensation, we are not doing this trade. And in my opinion, this is a bad situation all around. This is honestly such a bad situation for both sides that I honestly don't understand why the Cavaliers are doing this. Why are they putting this drama in the media, especially after a blockbuster trade like this went down? Why are you threatening to call it off? Because the implications of calling this trade off is very, very high. The impact alone will be so severe that it could jeopardize both of these franchises, and both of these franchises are in title contention, which is even worse for these franchises to have with them. So let's first talk about it from the perspective of the Cavaliers. So now the Cavaliers, why is this? So let's talk about, first of all, why they want to get the compensation for Irving. Now they believe that they want to be played smart. Dan Gilbert at this point, in my opinion, is trying to be greedy. He's saying that, look, I already got so much out of Danny Ainge's pockets. I found this little tidbit. Now Cleveland's in the driver's seat. Dan Gilbert's not saying, I'm in the driver's seat now of this trade. You want me to make this trade, Danny? I want you to give me another asset. I want either another player coming back to me, and reportedly he wants either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, one of those guys, which I don't understand, but we'll get to that. Or he wants another pick. And honestly, man, I feel that this is just Dan Gilbert being greedy right now. I feel that this is Dan Gilbert just saying that, look, we already got the King's ransom, but we want more. We want to continue getting more out of him. And honestly, from a business perspective, this is honestly genius. Business-wise, this is a genius. Dan Gilbert is no idiot, and I'm not going to call him an idiot, because he's not. He's doing exactly what any businessman would do in this situation, and that is try to make the maximum amount of profit, squeeze the most amount of money you can out of a client. And currently, Dan Gilbert found something where he could squeeze more out of Danny Ainge. Do I think it's right? No, of course not. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right for Dan Gilbert to literally continually keep asking for more and more out of Danny Ainge, all because he found one little issue with this trade. But let's say Danny Ainge won't give Cleveland what they want, and Cleveland ends up vetoing the trade. Now, this is bad for Cleveland. Why? Because first of all, you're getting Kyrie Irving back. After trading him away, you get him back. Alright? So that's already a bad thing. So now, the whole objective of this trade was to get rid of Kyrie Irving, and now you're back to square one. You have Kyrie Irving on your roster again, and now you have to figure out how to trade him all over again. Now, second of all, the second problem with all this is that now you lose out on the talent that you were getting. You were getting quality players. You got Isaiah Thomas, you got Jay Crowder, you got that Ante Zizic, and you even got the Brooklyn pick. Now that you've vetoed this trade, you lose all that. And I already mentioned in last week's episode that this was probably the best return that any superstar got this offseason. This was the best return, and the Cavaliers literally are just passing it all up, all because Isaiah Thomas has a hip injury that will potentially keep him out longer in the season. Which I don't understand why the Cavaliers are so worried about this. I don't understand why the Cavs feel that this whole hip injury is something big to worry about. Now, yes, it's not something that is great for the Cavaliers, but remember, you don't need Isaiah Thomas to win games in the regular season. We all know the Cavaliers are going to be the best team in the East, with or without Isaiah Thomas. Why? Because they have LeBron. And you already signed Derrick Rose, and he is still a solid starting point guard. You can easily put Derrick Rose to start the season, and when Isaiah gets healthy, you can put Isaiah in. And honestly, I would give Isaiah as much time as he needs to get healthy, because if this guy is 100% for the playoffs, think about how much better this Cavaliers team will be with a 100% Isaiah Thomas, with a fully acclimated Derrick Rose. Just think about how good this Cavaliers team is going to be with all this to happen. So I don't understand the Cavaliers' concern here. Now, I don't understand it, because you're already going to be a good team with or without Isaiah, and I'd rather let Isaiah rest, get healthy for the playoffs, give him the time that he needs to recover, and when he does recover, and when he's ready for the playoffs, put him in. You already have signed your scapegoat in Derrick Rose. You already have a serviceable starter, which is all you basically need next to LeBron James. You just need someone to be serviceable. You need someone who you can put in there who isn't going to gain much attention, but still will be able to distribute the ball, score, just take a little bit of a load off LeBron James. That's it, and Derrick Rose can do all that. So I don't understand what's the whole concern here. Now, the Cavs are concerned, so yeah, I don't get it, but they are concerned about this. So again, if this trade gets vetoed, you lose out on this whole big deal that you got. You got a huge return for Kyrie Irving, a bigger one than anybody anticipated you'd get, and you want to just give that up. I don't get it. I don't get why the Cavaliers want to give something like that up. It seems stupid in my opinion, but it is what it is. If that happens, the Cavs lose out. And finally, what I feel is going to be the worst case scenario if this trade gets vetoed is that no team is going to want to deal for Kyrie Irving. Why? Because they already know that the Cavs' asking price is going to be way too high. And what is that eventually going to end up doing? Is that end up going to force the Cleveland Cavaliers to take a lowball offer, or an offer that is going to be less than what they got from the Celtics, and they're going to have to be stuck with taking it, because it's going to be one of the only offers they are going to get for Kyrie Irving, because teams are going to shy away after this whole situation. Because now if they see Dan Gilbert being greedy and not being appreciative of not being respectful and being fair with the other team, then why would they want to do business with him? If this deal doesn't go through for this reason, I wouldn't want to deal with Dan Gilbert. I would say, nah, I don't want to deal with this greedy bastard who all he wants is all my assets. I don't need Kyrie Irving. I can keep my guy. If you don't want my guys, then I don't want yours. So I don't understand what Dan Gilbert is doing. But again, as I mentioned, if this trade gets vetoed, it's very bad for the Cavaliers. They're going to be put into a very tough situation, and it's ultimately going to end up in total chaos for this organization. Now, flipping the script over to the Boston Celtics. Now, why do I think this is a bad situation for the Celtics? Well, first of all, I feel that it's completely unfair what Dan Gilbert is doing to the Celtics, because Danny Ainge has already given up tons of assets. I felt that he already gave up too much for Kyrie Irving to begin with, but now he has to give up even more for Kyrie Irving. I was writing this on Twitter or Facebook, but I said that if Danny Ainge will only give up another asset if another asset from Cleveland is getting back in this deal. That is the only way I see Danny Ainge doing this. Because if he doesn't, how would this be fair? Like, let's say that Danny Ainge does give Cleveland another asset. Like, let's say another player gets involved in this trade. How is that fair? How is that fair? Like, especially contract situation wise, like, how is another contract being added in this trade going to add up to just one Kyrie Irving contract? I don't get how the math works out there. It doesn't. So another asset from the Cavs have to go. I would recommend Iman Shumpert. Send Iman Shumpert into this deal. Like, if Iman Shumpert from the Cavs go to the Celtics, Kyrie and Iman go to the Celtics, and the Cavaliers get another young prospect, maybe Marcus Smart, I will be okay with that. That I'll be okay with, because it looks like it's a fair trade. It's a fair trade-up, because now the Celtics are getting some compensation as well. It's fair on both ends. Both sides are getting what they want. However, in this case, the Cavs aren't willing to give up anybody, and they're just demanding that the Celtics give up someone. So now it doesn't make any sense here for Danny Ainge to just give up an asset without any compensation. So, which is why I feel that he shouldn't. I feel that Danny Ainge shouldn't give up anybody, really, unless he gets someone back from the Cavaliers. I don't see him doing anything here. So yeah, but if I do see Danny Ainge, if he does end up doing it, I predict it's going to be a draft pick. I don't see him giving up a player. I'm sorry. Cleveland wants either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. They're not getting any of those guys. Those are the guys who Danny Ainge has touted for the future. He's not giving those two guys up in this deal. And if he does, then Danny Ainge is a complete idiot. I'm sorry. I'm totally honest on this show, and I can't change that. I will legit, if Danny Ainge trade one of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum in this deal without any compensation for one of those guys, I'm gonna call him an idiot, because then this deal makes no sense for their end. Then I would truly say the Celtics got fleeced in this trade. Now, speaking of the hypothetical of what happens if this trade gets vetoed, why do I think this is a bad situation for the Celtics? First of all, you basically lose out on Kyrie Irving. Okay, now Kyrie Irving, although isn't a huge game changer, is still a really good player. He's a player who the Celtics wouldn't have even dreamed of getting, because had Kyrie Irving become a free agent, his top 4 teams. The Celtics weren't one of those teams on Kyrie Irving's list. So the Celtics would never dream of getting Kyrie Irving. So they immediately lose out on that talented guy. Second of all, now that this trade can be vetoed, you get Isaiah Thomas back. Jay Crowder comes back into that locker room. Now, how would Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder feel after being betrayed by the franchise who they gave their heart and soul to? Isaiah Thomas should be pissed off at Danny Ainge, because he will literally look at Danny Ainge straight in the face and say, look, I gave my heart and soul for you, for this franchise, for your team, and you repay me by trading me away? I helped you recruit Gordon Hayward to this franchise, and you trade me away before I even get a chance to play with him? I recruited him so I can play with him, not so that he takes my spot and I get traded away. And now you expect me to come back and be in this locker room and be on your organization so you can trade me again? If I'm Isaiah Thomas, I would hate that. I would want to be traded again. I would want to be traded to a team that would actually appreciate me and be able to respect my devotion and my passion for the organization, and not just stomp all over it and just trade me the next day. So yeah, bringing those two guys back in the locker room will be so chaotic for the Celtics, because now they have to deal with not one but 2 guys who they need to get rid of, because Jay Crowder's the same way. Jay Crowder, why would he want to go back to the Celtics when the Celtics traded him away? He was one of their better role players, and they just traded him. So that will just create a chaotic atmosphere in the Celtics locker room, which will eventually lead to another trade for Isaiah Thomas, which could eventually mean that the Celtics may not be as good as they were last year. So that means getting Gordon Hayward was a complete waste of time, and that could result in a lot of bad things for the Celtics. So overall, man, this whole situation of the Cavs wanting more compensation is complete bullshit in my opinion. I feel that this is so retarded. This is so petty for the Cavaliers to do, all because of one Isaiah Thomas injury that could be a setback for the Cavaliers. And I say this in air quotes because it can't be that big of a deal. The Cavs have their scapegoat in Derrick Rose. They don't need Isaiah Thomas to the playoffs. So what's the big deal if Isaiah, rests up a little bit and recovers properly, takes surgery and recovers and comes back before the playoffs? I don't see any problem with that. As long as he's healthy and 100% for the playoffs, that's all we need. That's all the Cavaliers need for Isaiah Thomas. They don't need him for the regular season because they already know they're going to win the Eastern Conference. So, I don't know, man. Overall, this is complete bullshit in my opinion. I feel that this is a terrible situation for each side involved, and I feel that if this trade gets vetoed, it will be chaos for both sides, and I guarantee you that it will spark more trades, it will spark more drama, and it will just be a complete mess for everybody involved. But we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully things can work out and we don't have to go down that dark path.